This is the Ross Kaminsky Show.
You're a great American.
Now, Ross Kaminsky.
Come on, man.
On Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Oh, I need to aim that camera up a little bit. Is that better, Shannon? Is that fine? All right, so good morning. Happy Tuesday. I hope you all had a fabulous, fabulous weekend. I'm getting my text thing going right here. For those of you watching on YouTube right now, you might see me messing around with my laptop because I am quite the multitasker. If you all knew all the stuff that I got done during the show, you'd be slightly impressed or not, which is fine too. Shannon, what national day did you say it is today?
National Say Something Nice Day.
National Say Something Nice Day. Okay. Who should I say something nice to or about? Actually, you know what? I actually have a story. I don't know if this is exactly say something nice, but I do have a nice story to start the show with. And I saw this yesterday, and I thought, actually, without even knowing, maybe it's just because I'm psychic, without even knowing that it was going to be National Say Something Nice Day, I had a good story to start the show with. So why don't we do that? This is about a 7-year-old boy in Florida named Chase Poust, or I think it is Poust. Have you heard this story, Shannon? Does it sound familiar to you? So this 7-year-old boy named Chase he and his dad and his 4-year-old sister were on a boat in a river in Jacksonville, Florida. And I guess the boat started drifting kind of out to sea. And the little girl normally hangs on to the back of the boat with her body in the water, and she holds on to the back of the boat. I did that several times when I was a kid, on the rare occasion that I was around a boat and just goofing around as a kid. And the current got a little bit strong, and the little girl, who was wearing a life jacket, lost her grip, and the current started to take her away from the boat. And so the little brother, 7-year-old Chase, also let go of the boat because he wanted to try to help his 4-year-old sister. And the dad sees these, 2 kids now in a strong current being pulled away from the boat. So he jumps in to the water, and the 2 kids get separated. So the dad says to the 2 kids, "I love you," because he has no idea what's going to happen. It doesn't seem like a good situation. And he tells his 7-year-old, swim to the shore. Okay? Swim to the shore and get some help. But at this point, they had drifted fairly far out, and the current was going the wrong way. This 7-year-old boy, Chase, swam an hour to get to shore. He told a local television station that he floated on his back and dog paddled so he wouldn't get too tired. And when he got to land, he ran to the nearest house to get help. During that time, his dad and his little sister drifted somewhere between 1.5 miles and 2 miles away from where their boat had been. But Jacksonville Fire and Rescue, they found the boat, but then, these people were nowhere to be found. They weren't near, but eventually they did find them, and everyone's okay because 7-year-old Chase swam an hour. I couldn't swim an hour. He swam an hour to get to land, largely against the current. What a fantastic story. So congratulations, and obviously from his family in particular, what an enormous thank you. I mean, enormous gratitude to 7-year-old kid. What an incredible thing. All right. So that's as close as I'm going to get, I think, to say something nice. If I think about something else nice to say about someone, later in the show, we will. That's not necessarily our strong point around here. It's definitely not Shannon's strong point. So when it comes to finding something nice to say about someone, I'm definitely not going to get any help from you. Is that fair? Yeah. Shannon is our in-house curmudgeon. And I appreciate him for that. We all need a curmudgeon around from time to time. All right, let's move on to something else. I'm not sure that I will say something nice about Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, but I might. This is quite an interesting thing that he's done. He's a Republican, Governor Doug Ducey, and he has been telling his state legislature for a while. He said, stop goofing around with all these non-essential bills, even if they're bills that theoretically I would support, like a bill against mandating anti-racism training for government workers, because we know that today's so-called anti-racism is really just racism. But, he would support a bill that does that. But he told the legislature, which is dominated by Republicans, he said, get me a budget. That's the most important thing for our state. And until you get me a budget, I'm going to veto everything you send me, even if it's stuff I support, until you send me a budget. And he did. On Friday, the Arizona governor vetoed, I think it was 22 bills or something like that. Yeah, 22 vetoes. 22 vetoes, again, including that bill that I described to you. And actually, since it's a Republican-dominated legislature, the bills that the governor vetoed, the Democrats were against all of those bills. So I'm sure the vetoes were things that he liked. It doesn't mean they're dead forever. They may come back in a special session or in the next year's session or whatever it might be involved with. But Ducey said he said, I'm going to go to the AP for this, said that with just a month remaining until the start of a new fiscal year, Arizonans deserve to see the budget enacted. The $12.8 billion plan, and this is a budget that was basically negotiated between Republicans in their state legislature and a Republican governor. Gosh, wouldn't it be nice to have that here in Colorado? Includes a massive income tax cut and new spending on roads and other improvements, plus tax cuts for veterans and business property. How about that? Kind of living within your means and doing what needs to be done. Cutting taxes when you've got more money to do that than you need to do what needs to be done. Just the opposite of what's going on here in the state of Colorado, where Democrats are raising every tax they can get away with raising and spending a bunch of money on things that we don't need done and not enough money on the things that we do need done. And I don't know where Jared Polis is in all of this. When I text him about it or email him about it, he sort of makes excuses to me. Oh, look at this thing we're doing. Now this is back to Arizona. On the table is a budget agreement that makes responsible and significant investments in K-12 education, higher education, infrastructure, and local communities, all while delivering historic tax relief to working families and small businesses. The governor said in a statement. The Republican House Speaker, named Rusty Bowers, sounds like a good name for a Republican House Speaker, said he knew the governor has made similar moves in the past and said, quote, it would have been foolish of me, end quote, not to think Ducey would do it again. Still, the vetoes mean a whole series of bills will have to move back through the system in both chambers very late in the session or die. He said it hurts. It means more time for us. It means late introductions. It means the whole rigmarole all over again. But we've been working and trying to work through each of our recalcitrant members and holdouts to have a budget. And next week we're going to be trying to put one together, and hopefully we can move. Holding up a budget deal is a mix of Republicans, those who worry tax cuts are too deep and will hurt the state and particular cities, and fiscal conservatives who believe it spends too much money. I get all that. Bottom line is, in politics and in life, oftentimes the right compromise is one where everybody ends up a little bit unhappy. especially if you're talking about compromises sort of among Republicans in a fairly conservative state, they'll probably end up with something that is tolerable, which is not the same thing as what happens when Republicans in Congress compromise with Democrats. Then you end up with a Democrat bill and Republicans who think they won because they can say they went along with something. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting move by Governor Ducey. Was it a good move? Maybe. Let me give you just an idea of a couple of the bills that he vetoed. Renames references in law from, quote, product of human conception to unborn child. There was a bill that he vetoed that would have banned requiring public employees, government workers, to have to participate in critical race theory training. There was a bill that would have imposed new requirements for the security packaging and labeling of marijuana. Oh, here's a bill that I would have really liked to see pass. Not that I drive in Arizona very often. Senate Bill 1127 would have allowed motorists to travel faster on some state highways without facing criminal charges. Oh, there was a bill that would have increased the deduction available on individual income taxes for putting money into 529 college savings programs. Okay, I'll stop with the list there. I would note to you that I just read somewhere, I don't think I can find it right now, that Colorado is going the other way. Colorado is about to limit the amount of money that you can contribute to a 529 college savings program. And going to limit the tax deduction you could get. So you could put more in, but you wouldn't get the tax deduction on. I read somewhere that they're going to cap it at $15,000. So that's the most, maybe you have a good year and you want to save some money for your kid's college education in this excellent kind of tax advantaged plan. They're limiting you to being able to put $15,000 in there because you're not supposed to be able to get rewards from being successful. I guess if I were going to take the other side of that, I suppose I would say that it's a way for people who make lots of money to get bigger tax deductions. That's probably what the liberals say. Anyway, but at least, there's a governor who's making sure that the legislation gets done what they need to get done. Oh, an almost related story out of Texas. So there is, or maybe again soon will be, a bill in the Texas state legislature. And by the way, the Texas state legislature only meets every 2 years. They don't meet every year. Isn't that great? Shouldn't we do that here in Colorado too? And it's called Senate Bill 7. And Senate Bill 7 is one of these election modification bills that, does a bunch of things. And it's probably, I'd say it's more aggressive than the Georgia bill. The Georgia bill was just simply not read, and it was criticized by people who didn't know what it did, or who did know what it did and lied about it. Either way, the Texas bill does some other things that are a little more aggressive. For example, during this last election, Texas had drive-through voting, which seemed to work pretty well. The bill would eliminate that. I'm not sure what the purpose of eliminating that is. It would also prohibit voting on Sundays before 1 p.m. Also not sure why there's a legitimate reason to do that. That does seem like an effort to stop black people from voting, because in a lot of urban centers with large black church-going populations, they have these things that they call souls to the polls, and they get black folks in particular out of their churches on Sunday mornings to go vote. So this bill would prohibit Sunday voting before 1 p.m. Anyway, Democrats did not have the votes to stop this. So what the Democrats did was they walked out of the state legislature, and that prevented a vote, because it would have passed. And so what Governor Abbott said he'll do, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, said that, and I'm going to quote here, "I will veto Article 10 of the budget passed by the legislature. Article 10 funds the legislative branch. No pay for those who abandon their responsibilities. Stay tuned." So the governor is threatening the pay of the Democratic legislators who walked out. so that there would not be a vote on this thing. It's an interesting tactic, I suppose. I don't know if it is. I don't know if there's a way to impact just the pay of the people who walked out and didn't do their jobs or what. Here's one interesting little side note, I suppose, on this. The Democrats in the Texas legislature, and I'm going to use NBC News' description, used every parliamentary tool at their disposal Sunday night to stop the bill, ultimately walking out to prevent a vote before the midnight deadline. By the way, Abbott said he would just add the bill to a special session agenda to pass it. He didn't declare a date for that yet. But anyway, so what does this mean? In Texas, the Democrats there used essentially a parliamentary maneuver, right? A way to use the rules, even if using them in a fairly extreme way, but still using the rules to get their way. Namely, to stop a bill that they don't want to pass. In effect, what the Democrats did in the Texas state legislature was very much like a filibuster. Right? They found a way to stop progress on a bill. Which is interesting given how much Democrats in the federal Senate want to eliminate the filibuster, which is the primary tool in the federal Senate for doing the kind of thing that Democrats in the Texas state Senate just did. And of course, it goes to show, and this is not a big surprise, but it goes to show that none of this is about principle. It's just about getting your way. Again, you don't have to put on your big surprise face. I know that I'm not breaking news there, but just keep it in mind, as you hear Democrats continue down this road of we've got to get rid of the filibuster because we have a majority and this is what the nation wants us to do. And of course, you all remember what happened when then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid changed the rules to allow President Obama to appoint judges to all federal courts except the Supreme Court with a simple majority and have those nominations not subject to filibuster. You will recall that Mitch McConnell said to Harry Reid at the time, this is going to come back to bite you and maybe sooner than you think. Reid did what he wanted to do because he was trying to protect Obamacare in the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. And in fact, he did that with that court packing. But then when they came back, McConnell just said, well, if it was good for all the other federal judges, we're going to make it good for the Supreme Court too. And that's how we got Gorsuch and Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett. Democrats never learn. Maybe the Democrats in Congress should take a lesson from Texas. We'll be right back.
This is Denver's Talk Station with Ross Kaminsky now. Tom Martino at 10, 630 KHOW, Denver.